Once again, we're here with Paul Engel on the show called We the People. Thanks for joining in today, Paul. It's good to have you back with us. And have one question that people have asked me, and I'm sure you get questions about all the time. That's our Second Amendment rights. With the latest election, our presidential election, turning out the way it appears to have turned out, again, that's still hanging on. There's some people hanging on hope here. And there's been a lot of talk about the Second Amendment and the potential of a Biden administration. We've heard they're coming for your guns, and he has come out and said that he's for a lot of gun control.
Correct.
So let's talk about what the Second Amendment was originally written for. It wasn't meant so we could hunt. I know that. So
Correct.
Tell us.
Yes.
Tell us what we've got here.
So, it's and from a presidential standpoint, it's really the lesser of two evils, right? Because President Trump hasn't been all that great on protections of our rights. The right to keep and bear arms is protected by the Second Amendment. You have to understand a little bit about the beginning of the country. Now, we're all familiar with the Battle of Lexington. What most people don't remember is that the Battle of Lexington started because the British were coming to confiscate the ammunition of the colonists. So in April of 1775, you had the riot of Paul Revere warning them there's British columns coming to Lexington Green with orders to confiscate the powder out of the powder house in Lexington and Concord, to take the ammunition of the colonists. They were met on Lexington Green by the Massachusetts militia, the people, armed populace that were going to stand up and say no. And there's a great story about their leader, Captain John Parker, when the British commander ordered the militia to lay down their arms and disperse. Captain John Parker said, "Stand your ground, don't fire unless fired upon, but if they mean to have war, let it begin here." That fight, that shot heard around the world, that battle was over gun control. Now, I actually stopped using the term gun control. What they're talking about is not gun control. What they're talking about is infringing the rights of citizens to keep and bear arms.
Right.
Now, the Constitution, the Second Amendment says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Let's break that down a little bit, because there are two parts to that. There are two parts. The first is a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. Militia is defined as an armed populace. Now, in U.S. law, there are two types of militia. There's the organized militia and the unorganized militia. The National Guard, the Reserve, that is the organized militia. The unorganized militia is everyone else. The only part of the only people the state control in a militia are the officers. By the way, by federal law, every male between the ages of 18 and 45 is considered part of the militia. And every woman every female that has been in the National Guard is considered part of the militia. It's where they get the selective service.
Okay.
You're part of the militia. You may need to be called up to defend your country. So what is the purpose? The purpose of the militia is to maintain the liberty of a free state. The state isn't under attack by Bambi. Right? This is not about hunting. Bambi's not coming for your guns. But what may happen is, remember, we had 13 original states that had bonded together and just fought a war over an oppressive central government. They said, we don't want that to happen again. So we need to make sure that the states have militias. And originally, all the armed citizens in the county, once a month or so, would gather at the green and go through drills. Why? To be regular, to be well regulated, to mean to operate properly. That's what regulated means in that context. It doesn't mean controlled to death. So the purpose of the Second Amendment is to make sure that the state remains free. Free from who? Free from foreign intervention? Free from federal intervention? And in many cases, to allow the citizens to be free from abuses of their rights, meaning to defend ourselves against our own state government or any criminal that would take away our freedom. So the second half is The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Nowhere in the Constitution does the people refer to anything but the individual citizens. So these people say, well, it's for the militia. It doesn't say that. It says the right of the people to both keep and bear arms, meaning I can own them and I can carry them. By the way, some of you may remember, I'm originally from the Empire State, the state of New York, where I had to get the government's permission to bear arms. I had to get the government's permission to keep certain types of arms. Violations of the Constitution. So the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That means the government is prohibited from infringing in any way. Now, courts recently had this brilliant idea that says, well, if there's a compelling government interest, I can infringe on your rights. No. That is illegal, immoral, a violation, that is bad behavior, that is wrong. The Constitution supersedes the opinion of a judge. The only compelling government interest that truly exists is to protect the rights of its citizens. That's from the Declaration of Independence. So all of these laws about what guns you can have, how much ammo they can carry, what types of ammo, those are all illegal because arms are defined as weapons of combat. Right? It's not muskets. It's not even, handguns or AR-15s. They say AR-15 is a weapon of war, which is patently false, but it doesn't matter because an arm is an offensive weapon or a defensive weapon. It's about protecting yourself.
Right.
And so this shall not be infringed is important because we're infringed all the time here in Tennessee, which is why I think we're up to 19 states that have passed constitutional carry, meaning I don't need the government's permission to carry a firearm because that infringes on my right to keep and bear arms.
Where's Tennessee on that?
Tennessee is pretty good, but it's interesting. So and I forget which actual article it is, but the state of Tennessee's has an article that is almost verbatim. It actually starts out almost verbatim of the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, but they add a line. They say, but carrying of firearms may be regulated to ensure safety. That's a paraphrase. I'm not sure it's 100% accurate. The problem is to regulate means to control, which is to infringe. So the Tennessee Constitution, while it's pretty good, is actually a violation of the United States Constitution. And as I understand, and I'm not a lawyer, but as I understand the laws that Tennessee has passed, many of them infringe not only on the U.S. Constitution, but on the Constitution of Tennessee as well.
Okay, so the concealed carry permit is an infringement, actually.
Yes, because you're asking permission of the government to bear arms. Now, Tennessee is a little bit different because they allow you to bear arms on your property. They allow you to bear arms in your vehicle. The issue they say is, well, in order to ensure safety, if you're going to carry arms in public, you need our permission.
Okay,
right?
all right.
That may pass the Tennessee Constitution, but that does not pass the U.S. Constitution, and the U.S. Constitution is supreme over state constitutions and state laws.
Okay, so if you're pulled over for a speeding ticket, you don't have a concealed carry permit, a weapon is found in your vehicle, a handgun, you have every right to carry that, but then you're brought up on a weapons charge.
Well, interesting, because in Tennessee, your vehicle is considered your property.
Right.
So by Tennessee law, as I understand it, you're allowed to carry a loaded weapon in your vehicle. It's when you step out of the vehicle that you might get a weapons charge.
Okay.
And there you're dealing with a violation of the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, a violation of your right to keep and bear arms. And the problem we had is, again, rather than the people reading the Constitution, we've listened to judges who have over time moved from what the Constitution actually says to what they want it to be.
And they all are going on, that's my opinion.
Yes.
That's my opinion.
That's why, because they say, well, it's based on constitutional law, which is the opinion of judges, which means at best it's what's called common law. But it's a commonly accepted law, but it's a violation of either statutory law or the Constitution itself, which is the supreme law. But again, most people don't know this, so they don't even know what to challenge. I got a comment on Facebook. It was wonderful because it was the wife of a gentleman who had sued his county, some of his county officers, in court, and the judge said apparently part of the reason he won the case is because he knew his rights under the U.S. Constitution and under the state Constitution. He was able to defend them in court. Just another reason why you need to read and study the Constitution, so that if you are required to defend them, if it does come to that, you have a basis to do so.
So that judge was saying basically if he hadn't done that, I might have ruled otherwise.
Correct.
Even though he knew his rights. So that judge basically was depending on this guy that had charges brought against him to point it out.
Well, like any judge, he's basing it on precedent, on case law. It was the fact that and again, I don't know the details of the case,
right,
but apparently this person's ability to quote how that violated rights under state and United and federal Constitution opened the eyes of the judge. Because remember, judges are lawyers, and lawyers do not study the Constitution in law school. They don't. Now, I've yet to ask a lawyer who said that they study the Constitution. They study constitutional law, which is again the opinion of judges. It's the same thing. Just because I tell you something is in the law doesn't mean it's going to stand up when you go back and actually read the document.
Right. All right, Paul. Thanks for spending time with us again.
You're welcome.
On the Second Amendment, and we'll talk again about this, I'm sure, many times down the road. But guys, if you want to actually study the Constitution, Paul has a book. It's right here above us, the Constitution Study. Go to his website, theconstitutionstudy.com, and you can order this book, or if you see Paul out in town or around, ask him for a copy. He'll be glad to sell you one, and it's a perfect place to go and study. And you won't be sorry you did. Again, thanks for watching. We look forward to seeing you real soon.